Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a great show for you tonight. Right next to me is that crazy guy, Mr. Casper Leach from Time for Him. Hey, Casper, my joint host. And over in the wings is John Cornett, waiting and willing to bring you some spiritually based chords of music here. We've got a lot of hemp news. There's been a lot of developments over this past few weeks. It's come to the point now where you just have to decide. You can't run very much of it. But this week was so eventful. We have quite a bit. But as always, we'll buy a few crucial moments by bringing on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves. Ta-da.
Feel the force.
There's a new poll out there from the Pew Charitable Trust that says that 54% of Americans now believe that marijuana should be legal, and only 42% of the people out there think it should remain criminalized. Over 3/4 of the respondents to this Pew Charitable Trust survey said that they think marijuana will be legal soon and sold legally. And so that poll was out there with a plus or minus 3.5% rate of accuracy. Another exciting development, the United States Supreme Court has refused to overturn Arizona's court rulings which order the Yuma County, Arizona sheriff to return cannabis seized from a woman with a California medical marijuana authorization recognized by the state of Arizona. Arizona is one of 3 other states, and ironically the District of Columbia, that has reciprocity. The District of Columbia, Maine, Michigan, and Rhode Island also have reciprocity and recognize other states' medical marijuana permits. The Supreme Court Justice's decision was issued without comment this last Monday in the case of Valerie Oaken. Oaken had marijuana in her car when a Border Patrol agent stopped her and her husband in Yuma County in 2011. She was charged with marijuana possession, but the charges were dropped when she provided paperwork proving she was allowed to possess cannabis under California's medical marijuana law. Arizona's medical marijuana law has this reciprocity, and it allows people with authorizations from other states to also possess cannabis in Arizona. But Yuma County Sheriff Leon Wilmot refused to give Oaken's medical marijuana back, even after Arizona courts ordered that the medicine be returned. Cannabis-hating Sheriff Wilmot told the Arizona Daily Star newspaper, quote, "It has to do with the courts telling me to commit a crime. As far as I'm concerned, that's not how we do business," end quote. Of course, it's ridiculous to assert that law enforcement officials are under some threat of arrest or prosecution. They probably handle marijuana on a regular basis. Does that make them criminals for it? To say so is certainly disingenuous. We have a little film clip about this story out of San Diego from NBC News about this incitous one. We'll be right back.
Won a Supreme Court ruling over medicinal marijuana. So now an Arizona Sheriff's Department has been ordered to give the woman her marijuana back. The woman and her husband spoke to NBC7's Herrera about these developments. Vanessa?
Well, Philip and Valerie Oaken politely declined an on-camera interview today, saying they never wanted the national attention their story has brought them. They just want what is right, and they feel they got that today. It's been a 3-year battle for Encinitas resident Valerie Oaken and her husband Philip. In 2011, they were driving through Yuma, an Arizona town about 170 miles east of San Diego, when they say Border Patrol agents confiscated about 3/4 of an ounce of Valerie's medicinal marijuana. The couple tells NBC7 they checked the Arizona law and had the necessary paperwork to obey it. But Valerie was still detained and charged for possession of marijuana. About a month later, the charges were dropped and Superior Court of Arizona ordered the Yuma County Sheriff's Office to return the marijuana to Valerie. But the agency refused, and so the case went before the Supreme Court of the United States.
Monday, SCOTUS ruled to affirm Superior Court's order, which is to return Valerie's medicinal marijuana. Valerie's husband tells NBC7 the last 3 years have been a struggle attending court hearings, financially with legal fees, and emotionally. Although they never intended their story to get national attention, they do hope to bring light to the issues of patients' rights, and they hope it will set a standard for law enforcement officials to follow the laws themselves.
A spokesperson for the Yuma County Sheriff's Office says the agency is working with a Yuma County attorney to determine what needs to happen next. They have been ordered to return the marijuana, but were unsure of the process at the time of air. Vanessa Herrera, NBC.
Well, I certainly hope they get compensated for a lot of that time. In another exciting national story, United States Attorney General Eric Holder said Friday that the Obama administration would be willing to work with Congress if lawmakers want to reschedule marijuana. Just today. Categorizing marijuana would not legalize the drug under federal law, but it could ease restrictions to research its medical benefits and allow marijuana businesses to take tax deductions. Rescheduling would be a modest step in the right direction, but would do nothing to stop marijuana arrests or prohibition-related violence. Now that the majority of the American public supports taxing and regulating marijuana, as this week's Pew Charitable Trust poll showed 54% of Americans do, this debate about rescheduling is a bit antiquated and not a real solution to the failures of marijuana prohibition. Holder's comments come on the heels of guidance issued by the Justice Department that indicated the Obama administration will not undermine state marijuana legalization, provided states are responsibly regulating marijuana businesses. In an interview with The New Yorker earlier this year, President Obama said marijuana is less harmful to people who use it than alcohol, that the war on marijuana is creating unjust racial disparities, and it's important for the state legalization movements in the United States, such as Colorado and Washington, to move forward, quote, because it's important for society not to have a situation in which a large portion of people have at one time or another broken the law and only a select few get punished, end quote. In February, U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder announced new guidelines that will legally allow banks to provide financial services to state licensed marijuana businesses. However, few businesses have been willing to do that. Holder said during today's House Appropriations Committee hearing, quote, we'd be more than glad to work with Congress if there's a desire to look at and re-examine how the marijuana is scheduled. As I said, there is a great degree of expertise that exists in Congress. It's something that ultimately Congress would have to change, and I think that our administration would be glad to work with Congress if such a proposal were made, end quote. Also out of Washington, D.C., marijuana-related initiatives are likely to increase voter turnout, according to polling data released by George Washington University. Nearly 4 out of 10 participants in the nationwide survey said they would be much more likely to go to the polls if an initiative seeking to legalize marijuana appeared on the ballot. An additional 30% of respondents said that they would be somewhat more likely to participate in an election that also included a marijuana-specific ballot measure. Presently, 2 statewide cannabis reform measures have qualified for the ballot in this year's elections. Alaska voters will decide whether to allow the commercial production, retail sale, and use of cannabis by those over 21. That measure will appear on the August 19th primary ballot in Alaska. According to the results of a February public polling survey, 55% of registered Alaskan voters think that marijuana should be legally allowed for recreational use, that stores should be allowed to sell it, and that sales should be taxed and regulated similarly to alcohol. Florida voters in November will decide on a measure to allow for the use and dispensing of marijuana by those who are authorized by their physician to engage in cannabis therapy. Survey data released in November by the Quinnipiac University reported that 82% of Florida voters support reforming state law to allow for medical marijuana. Several proposed state ballot measures to regulate production and sale of marijuana for adults are also pending here in our state. We're circulating 2. There's one more that's trying to get out the gate. All these measures are in the signature gathering phase. In another survey, more than 2 out of 3 physicians in the United States, or 67%, say that medical marijuana should be an option for patients, according to the results of a new WebMD Medscape poll. WebMD on Thursday released the Marijuana on Main Street, a special report looking at the debate over medicinal cannabis. The site surveyed nearly 3,000 consumers, and Medscape surveys more than 1,500 doctors about their opinions on the legalization of cannabis as a treatment option and the perceived risks and benefits of its use. Dr. Michael Smith, the chief medical editor at WebMD, said, quote, "Despite more than 20 years of anecdotal evidence about the medicinal effects of marijuana, doctors and consumers remain in search of answers. The findings of our consumer physician survey indicate the medical community's support for the use of marijuana as a treatment option, particularly among clinical specialists that have pioneered research," end quote. The survey found overall 56% of the respondents are in favor of a national medical marijuana legalization. In yet another poll, Law Officer Magazine has provided Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, or LEAP, a poll of its own showing an even more surprising finding. A majority of law enforcement officers also support marijuana policy reform. Though some of the answers provided seem to overlap, the overall effect is one indicating broad support for change among the readership of Law Officer Magazine, 97% of whom indicated that they are or had been in law enforcement. Some of the most surprising results include 66% saying marijuana possession should be legalized, decriminalized, legalized for medical reasons, and punished or may be punished with fines, with the largest plurality, 37%, supporting legalization. Even more surprising, almost 27% supported legalizing the sale of marijuana in large quantities, with 36% calling for some form of change from the current model. While support for decriminalizing possession of other drugs was significantly lower, or 14% of this population, and this is one generally thought to be the most opposed to reform, they support changes in these policies. Up north of us in Washington State, the Washington Liquor Control Board, or WSLCB, on Wednesday approved staff's recommendation for a lottery that will select the apparently successful applicants for marijuana retail licenses. The independent double-blind process will happen April 21st through April 25th, according to the Washington State Liquor Control Board, and will produce a list of applicants that the agency will use to continue its retail licensing process. The agency said it expects to begin issuing retail licenses no later than the first week of July. Initiative 502 directed the Washington Liquor Control Board to limit the number of marijuana retail stores by county. In its rules, the Washington Liquor Control Board limited the number of stores statewide to 334. The most populated cities within each county are allotted a maximum number of stores, with the remainder at large throughout the rest of the county. The rules further state that if the Liquor Control Board receives more applications for jurisdiction than there are stores allocated, the state would use the lottery process for producing a ranked order of applicants. There are many more prospective marijuana applications than there are licenses available, and many of the unsuccessful applicants are going to be quite upset, some of them after spending tens of thousands of dollars getting ready to go into the marijuana business. Expect a spate of bitter lawsuits on the horizon there. In Washington, D.C., at a Wednesday House subcommittee hearing, the Drug Enforcement Administration Director, Michelle Leinhart, publicly opposed the Department of Justice's position on legal marijuana in Colorado and Washington and warned of dangers of marijuana legalization. Drug Enforcement Administration head Michelle Leinhart apparently has no problem trash-talking her boss. The administrator of the DEA repeatedly criticized the Obama administration at Wednesday's hearing on the DEA's budget for the upcoming fiscal year. In a memo released in July 2013, the Department of Justice announced that it would not interfere with the effective implementation of laws regulating the cultivation and sale of marijuana for adults in Colorado and Washington. When asked by Congressman Frank Wolf, a Republican from Virginia, during a Commerce, Justice, Science, and Related Agencies subcommittee hearing on Wednesday whether the Obama administration's tolerant views toward legal marijuana had affected morale at the DEA, which is a branch of the Department of Justice, Leinhart replied, quote, "Our agents are fighting back against those messages. It makes us fight harder," end quote. The DEA administrator had earlier criticized the DOJ for a perceived delay in issuing a response to Washington and Colorado's new laws, claiming there was, quote, "a lot of confusion in those 296 days," end quote. I'm sure there was. Back in Washington, D.C., Washington Mayor Vince Gray on Monday signed a bill decriminalizing the possession of small amounts of marijuana in the nation's capital. the D.C. City Council had approved the bill, which eliminates criminal offenses for an ounce or less of marijuana, and sent it to Mayor Gray's desk for his final approval. Anyone caught with an ounce or less of marijuana will be charged with a civil offense punishable by a $25 fine. The fine should be that low everywhere. Ours here in Oregon is $500 to $1,000. In Washington, D.C., support grew for the measure after a 2013 ACL report found that D.C. leads the United States in the rate of marijuana arrests, and that African American residents are 8 times more likely than Caucasians to be arrested for cannabis possession. Washington, D.C. City Council member Tommy Wells, who'd introduced the decrim bill, said, quote, "This is a victory for the district and a victory for justice. This bill is a tremendous stride in the disproportionate sociological and economic impact of marijuana arrests on African Americans, arrests that pull families apart and keep our residents from jobs, higher education, and housing opportunities," end quote. Okay, for our last story tonight, it's right here in Oregon. Officials at the Oregon Health Authority backed off on a proposed ban of marijuana-infused treats this week, saying that they got hundreds of emails opposing the ban, and the new set of rules released on Monday seeks only to ban marijuana-laced products that are made and packaged in ways that might appeal to children. The new rules ban cannabis-infused edibles that are brightly colored or formed in the shapes of animals, toys, or candies. They require cannabis products to be sold in child-proof containers with no cartoons or bright colors. In a release announcing the new rules, Tom Burns, the director of pharmacy programs for the Oregon Health Authority, said, quote, "Marijuana isn't candy and it shouldn't look like candy," end quote. Senate Bill 1531, passed by the Oregon legislature and signed into law by Governor John Kitzhaber earlier this month, required the health authority to set the rules. The bill also allows cities and counties to ban dispensaries within their borders until May 2015 anyway. The new law calls for the Oregon Health Authority to implement rules designed to keep marijuana away from children. An earlier draft of the proposed rules would have instituted a blanket ban on all candy and gum and baked goods that contain cannabis, but Burns said the agency had gotten a couple hundred emails from patients that were upset about that. I imagine he did. We tried to get everybody here to write to them. So a few of you did. Thank you for that. And that's the end of our hemp news segment for tonight. That was a pretty long one.
You know, the Candyman might disagree.
Well, he doesn't package his in bright colors or
correct.
anything, you know. His don't, I don't think they would appeal to children.
But
Absolutely.
what about vitamins? You know, you got even
Well,
Centrum's.
gummy bear vitamins are okay, I guess.
But I mean, like even Centrum's got like holograms on it, and you got cold medications that's got yellow sunshine on it. Take our cold medication and enjoy a bright tomorrow. And they got, I mean, I can go down the medical counters at any drugstore and see bright, beautiful colors pushing all their little pills. Are we going to have somebody from Oregon going up and down the aisles calling all these little companies and having
Seems a farce.
the color police go in now with the rainbow guard and compare and make sure we're not too bright?
It's just
Get it
over
out of the
top.
store.
It's over the top.
We will see.
Thank
Time
you.
will tell.
We can figure
All right,
out-
let's let John Cornett.
This is something Tracy Chapman did. I've done it here before. We're going to do it right now. If you knew that you would die today, saw the face of God and love, would you change? Would you change? If you knew that love could break your heart, when you're down so low you cannot fall, would you change? Would you change? How bad, how good does it need to get? What chain reaction would cause an effect? Makes you turn around, makes you try to explain, makes you give and forget, makes you change, makes you change. If you knew that you would be alone, knowing right, being wrong, would you change? Would you change? If you knew that you would find the truth that brings up pain, can't be soothed, would you change? Would you change? How good, how bad does it need to get? How many losses, how much regret? What chain reaction would cause an effect? Makes you turn around, makes you try to explain, makes you forgive and forget, makes you change, makes you change. Are you so uptight you can't be bent if it comes to blows? Are you so sure you won't be crawling? If not for the good, why risk falling? Why risk falling? If everything you think you know makes your life unbearable, would you change? Would you change? If you've broken every rule and vow, and hard times come to bring you down, would you change? Would you change? If you knew the face of God and love, if you saw the face of God and love, would you change? Would you change? Would you change? Would you change? Thank you, Tracy Chapman.
Of a beautiful little tune by J.C. Chapman from John Cornette. Welcome, Casper.
Thank you very much.
So you don't like the idea of candies? Are they're picking out medicines based on colors?
Well, I think it's nonsense. You know, I mean, you're talking about the packaging. I can say, okay, you might say don't put cartoon characters on the medicine to get kids to look at it. But I remember, just as an example, about 3 years ago, one of the soap companies for clothing came out with a new package, just like little balls that look like you just toss it into your washer, does a whole load. And a bunch of kids along the way started putting it in their mouth because it looked like candy. And I'm thinking, why doesn't Mama go, no?
That's Mama's job, right?
I'm just saying mine did. And then
Okay.
if my mama didn't, I usually went, ah! I had enough common sense not to keep going, ah! I put it in my mouth. Really?
Okay.
If your kid's doing that, take it to a professional. But I don't think the color of the packaging has got too much to do with
Well, I
it.
can understand not having it look like candies and stuff. You don't want kids to accidentally pick it up. Of course, it's the parents' responsibility to keep things out of the hands of their kids.
But they'd be telling manufacturers what color you can use on your packaging and on your
We'll see
labels.
how it plays out.
a little
You know,
too much.
we are taking live phone calls tonight. If you have a question or comment about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, or helping medical marijuana patients, you can call that number there on your screen. It's 288-4442, and we've got a couple callers who are standing by. Let's bring our first caller on. Hello. Hello. Can
Hey,
you
is
hear
that
me?
me? Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Hi. I'm watching you, and I better shut the
Yeah, it's
TV off.
delayed. So you want to listen to the
Sorry.
phone if you can hear it through there.
Hey, Paul. This is Doreen. I don't know if you remember me, but you invited me over the beginning of March. I had applied for a license, and you kind of helped me out. You were my grower, and I got to see your greenhouse, which was beautiful. Anyhow, I'm still enjoying the gift you gave me, but
Great.
I just unfortunately got a letter from the OMMP saying that my photo ID that I gave them, my Oregon one, had expired on my birthday, unfortunately. I knew that because I do have a valid Arizona one that has not expired yet until next year. But that's all I have. There's no way I can have another one.
Send them a copy of your Arizona ID and go get an ID card and send them a copy of that too. But since you have an Arizona ID card currently, I would immediately make a copy and send that in to the people who wrote you, and then go get an Oregon ID card and mail it in as soon as you have it.
I can do that. Yeah, great. Good idea. Thank you for the answer to my... I was really upset about this, by the way. Anyhow, thank
Well, you know, they always have little government officious rules. We've been talking about some of them here on the show tonight.
Exactly. That's why I brought it up. I was going to call you privately, but I guess I got to
Oh, well.
publicly, yeah. So
All right,
anyway,
thanks, Doreen. I'm glad to hear you are enjoying the THCF medical clinics free cannabis.
I am enjoying what you gave me. However, I'm not able to deal with any of the local. I tried already with even my temporary, postal proof that I have applied for one. The local place, the two of them I went to, I don't need to mention their names. One of the young men was very nice to me and said, come back when you finally get your card because we are not allowed to let you even come in. So I wasn't able to even use the green, postal proof.
All right. Well, thanks, Doreen. You have a good night, and look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah.
All right. If you are a loved one you know is looking for help finding a medical marijuana permit, we help patients from Maine to Hawaii, most of them here in Oregon and Washington, but we also have offices in California, and we see patients in several other states. So if you want to call us from outside the Portland area, call 1-800-723-0188. We have doctors all across the country who can help you get a medical marijuana permit. If you are here in the Portland area, you want to call us at 503-281-5100. That's 503-281-5100. So we have another caller who's standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello.
Howdy.
Okay, first of all, before I make my point, I just want to say that it is completely irresponsible to package it the way a kid would like. Where I live, it became illegal to put strychnine in these little blue tablets. They used to use them to kill mice. The problem was kids would put them in their mouth. And the problem is you can't watch your kid 24/7. So now strychnine looks disgusting. So hopefully kids won't stuff it in their mouth. Okay. That said, IBS. How does it help IBS? Do you have to eat it in a brownie? Can you eat the
It works
green?
both ways. You can inhale it for your IBS, or you can take it orally. If I recommend, if you're going to inhale it through inhalation, you use a vaporizer. It's better than smoking. Smoking works too, but it smells bad, and it stays in the air for a long, long time. Vaporization eliminates all the harms of smoking, inhaled superheating gases into your lungs, and so I recommend vaporization for inhalation of cannabis, but you can take it in a brownie, in a tincture. We've had many forms of antique cannabis medicines that's in topical medicines directly through your skin. It's in pills. So it's available just about any way that you desire.
How does it get into your digestive system that way?
You have to eat it. You eat it in a brownie, in a cookie. You can put tincture in a liquid or just put it directly in your mouth. If you put it under your tongue, a little bit will be absorbed there, but most of it will go down into your digestive system.
And I've said it before.
But if you inhale it, it goes through your bloodstream to stop those spasms and the pain and nausea associated with IBS.
Okay.
And I've said it before, if you're a member of Congress or the Senate, the DEA, they've got suppositories for you.
Oh, no. Oh, hell no.
Not
hell
my,
no.
never tried that. All right. But it works for all of those. All right.
Oh, well, there goes
We
the
we have
DEA.
another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
May I,
Hello, caller. What?
May I make it? There,
Oh, wait a minute. Let's see if this caller's here. Hello, caller.
Is that me?
That's you.
Oh, okay.
Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was listening to Paul Stanford. Is that you?
That's me.
Oh, okay. Hey, Paul. Good evening.
Howdy.
I was listening to what you were saying about that woman in Arizona and her
Yeah.
husband. The woman had the medical marijuana card, and she got her marijuana confiscated, and they had to go after 3 years to a high court.
Yeah, they
And
fought
the
the
sheriff-
lengthy, involved court process. And finally, the Supreme Court just this week ruled they wouldn't overturn the Arizona Supreme Court, and that the Arizona sheriff in Yuma County had to give it back.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want it. What's up with that? If somebody, is
There are
wrongfully-
just haters out there, There are people that hate people for one reason or another, whether they're racists or anti-marijuana, they're egocentric, ethnocentric. There are people who like people, like Casper and me,
Well, that
and there are
was-
people that hate people,
That
like
was-
that Sheriff Wilmot in Yuma County, Arizona.
And that was the thing I wanted to comment about, was how it ended at the end, where the lady said the police department had hired a lawyer to see what they needed to do next. Well, it seems to me like 3 courts, including
It's all
the
about money.
the
It's all
Supreme
about
Court
money.
said give it
That
back.
cop is probably making a lot of money bringing marijuana in through Mexico. That's my guess.
Give it back,
It's
right?
corrupt.
Right? Just give it back.
Isn't he
Yeah.
the same one that
Don't get a
has
lawyer
that
for that.
tent city?
What?
Isn't he the same one that has that tent city?
No, that was the Phoenix police chief, I think.
Oh, okay.
Had that. Everybody had to
it's
wear
just-
pink underwear in jail,
Yeah.
out in
It's
tents.
just
Yeah.
beyond me. I mean,
Well, that was another one. I can't. I want to say Herbondo or something. I can't remember that guy's name.
Well, it's just beyond me how
Ohio.
the court can say something and he says another thing. I mean, he thinks he's higher than the state Supreme Court.
Yeah, he's
Is
just
that what it's coming to?
just
Paul?
working with the Mexican drug cartel to bring Mexican marijuana swag in. That's probably what's going on there with that Yuma County sheriff. He's a hater.
Oh, I gotta agree with you, buddy.
All right. Well, thanks for your call tonight, sir.
All right, thank you, Paul.
All right.
You have a good evening.
You too. We have an audience member that has a question or comment. Go right ahead, man.
Not to beat that subject to death, but with regards to that sheriff, I don't recall, has he continued to be full-time in his job practicing as sheriff throughout all of this? And if so, I think you just answered the question as to why that is, but if you could elaborate, why would this person still be allowed to function as sheriff? when he
There's
himself
so
is
much law enforcement money in the war on drugs, and there's so much money in drug war corruption where they're being paid off by the drug cartels and the smugglers. They don't want to see that gravy train end. I know Casper and I had a former Maryland police lieutenant on his radio show earlier this week, and he said when a friend of his was murdered in a cocaine deal, he changed his mind and decided this war on drugs wasn't worth it. And he joined Law Enforcement Against Prohibition LEAP, and that's Major Neil Franklin of Maryland. And now he's the director of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition LEAP. And so marijuana is not about drugs. It's about money, power, and the continued centralization of economic and political control. I've been saying that on this show for going on 20 years now. And so it's still true. And I'll probably say it a few more dozen times before it's over. Maybe even a few more 100 times.
And it's hard to imagine a
maybe
police
1,000.
officer on the take. Oh, gosh. Not in America.
We have a studio audience member who has a comment. Go right ahead.
Hey, Paul. It's
Hey.
me, Dean. I haven't been around in a while.
Hey, Dean.
Hey, I just got back into town, and my orthopedic surgeon who signed off on my license is no longer practicing.
So sorry to hear that.
What do I need to do? I mean, I have the degenerative arthritis.
Talk to her, that lady right there. And if you're out there and you need help finding a doctor to help you get a medical marijuana permit, then you can call if you have any of those conditions, pain, nausea, gastrointestinal ailments like IBS or Crohn's disease, neurological disorders like multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, if you have cancer, AIDS, any of those and more, our doctors can help you get a medical marijuana permit. Just call us here in Portland at 503-281-5100. Or if you're around the country, we have doctors, as I said earlier, from Maine to Hawaii. Call us at 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. Or you can go through our web portal at hemp.org. Another great thing we have at hemp.org are our initiative petitions. Right now we're in the midst of an initiative campaign. We have 3 weeks to put Initiative 21 and Initiative 22 on the ballot. You can go online and print those petitions out, print out the single signature sheet, sign it, and mail it in to us or bring it into our office at 2712 Northeast Sandy Boulevard here in Portland, or mail it. Or if you want us to mail you petitions, give us a call at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. We need volunteer help. We can certainly use any sort of support you can give. It's very expensive to run the campaign, so please give us a call or come by our office. All right, there's my shameless plug.
There you go.
Yeah.
How close are we getting to getting the number of signatures that we need?
We got a lot farther to go. We need, I would say we're $300,000 to $400,000 away from getting the number of signatures we need.
Wow.
So that's how much more will need to be spent to make this thing happen.
So, like, how about the team of people who bring in the most signatures to make it happen get like 15 pounds of good medical marijuana?
All right, you go ahead, and I'll be happy when you find somebody who can give them that 15 pounds of marijuana. I'll leave that up to you, Casper, because I have this aversion to being locked in a metal box. I spent more than my allotted time in a metal box, and I wasn't claustrophobic before, but now I am.
You are now?
I feel like I want to be locked up in those metal boxes.
I know the
anymore.
feeling.
My children, my wife, my
I'm
fellow
claustrophobic
coworkers do not want me to be locked up in a metal box
claustrophobic
either.
too. I lived in the closet for 18 years.
I see. Yeah, that's when you were in the Army, right?
Yeah, well, whatever.
We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hey, Paul, it's Ann with the Cannabis Club Crawl.
Hey, how are you doing, Ann? Are you in town?
I'm good. I'm in Arkansas tonight.
All right. You're watching us
Yeah.
through Ustream out there?
I do not have internet. I'm in the middle of the country, so
okay.
I only have 3G on my phone.
All right. Are you in the
But,
Ozarks or near Hot Springs or down near Texarkana?
We went out to Eureka Springs today and saw some of the sites out there, and it was really cool. And we're actually really, really close to the battlefield, which happened here in Prairie Grove. So I'm going to go check that out tomorrow.
Okay. Well, you want to tell people about the Cannabis Club Crawl, where medical marijuana patients can go visit various clubs and dispensaries around town.
I do. And tonight our crawlers are being treated to a Cannabis Common Sense viewing, which is being held at the Alternative Wellness Center private club, and that's over at 72nd Avenue and Mitchell.
Hi, folks.
What was that?
I said hi, folks, to those folks over there at the
They're
Alternative.
probably waving and cheering right now. And this viewing tonight, it's being sponsored by Pure Green, which we mentioned before on the show. They're on the approved list, so they are operating
How is it
legally
sponsored
now.
by them?
They're located at 3738 Northeast Sandy Boulevard, and that's in
What have they
Northeast
done
Portland.
for this sponsorship?
Pure Green.
No, what did they do for sponsorship?
Oh, they are providing the meds for our crawlers tonight.
Oh,
so
okay.
they donated some flowers and some concentrate. So everybody's set.
I see. Okay, well, thanks for your call, Ann. We look forward to seeing you back here in Oregon.
Awesome. We'll see you soon.
All right. If you are if you like to call in and ask us a question about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, or helping medical marijuana patients, give us a call at that number there on your screen, 503-288-4442. We have another caller. Casper,
Cool.
they're just rolling right in. Welcome to the show, caller.
Is that me?
That's you.
I have a couple of questions about if marijuana is legalized.
Okay, go right ahead.
You know, you see on these shows on TV about the dispensaries in California where pot is like, you know, they're selling it for like $50 a gram and stuff like that. And it's cheaper on the street. And I'm just wondering. I've never had a medical marijuana card, but I've been a user for.
Well, I can tell you that our Oregon initiative says
Yeah.
that medical patients will get cannabis at cost, and that marijuana costs will be coming down to, and that marijuana will become cheap and plentiful.
I hope so. It's
And
I
our
hate to
initiative
say
also
this, but
allows
on the
every
street right
person
now, it's
to
cheap.
grow their own.
You know.
Yeah. Our initiative
well,
allows
that's all.
every person to grow their own as well. So we need your help on that petition drive. If you can just print some of those out or give us a call, we'd love to get your signature.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. If you need any of those petitions, give us a call at 503-235-4606 or come in our office at 2712 Northeast Sandy. You can go through our web portal at hemp.org, HEMP.org, our other website at crrh.org, and all of those. You know, we have a film clip we're going to run right now with a fellow who actually discovered THC about 30 years ago, and then 20 years ago he discovered the endogenous THC that our bodies form and the whole neurological endocannabinoid system. So this little educational video, we'll be right back. Oh, no. What?
Obesity, particularly abdominal obesity and the associated cardiometabolic complications, are critical areas of investigation. The endocannabinoid system helps to regulate the central control of energy balance and peripheral metabolic processes, both of which may contribute.
Well, we don't have that much time left anyway. So, how's your week gone, Casper?
Pretty groovy. We had on Steve Bloom's show today, the Celeb Stoner Hour. We had Adam Brook from Michigan. You know Adam?
Yeah, it rings a bell.
All right. Well, and he and Marvin Surowitz founded the Hash Bash, and I guess the Hash Bash is just one of the biggest events there in the Midwest. And the Hash Bash is coming on pretty soon. I think maybe even this weekend. So Marvin, howdy from all of us here at Time for Hemp and Cannabis Common Sense. Good luck with your Hash Bash. And we've had quite a full week. We've brought on some new programming this week as well out of Canada. We've had Jason Wilcox join our team and for an evening broadcast every Monday and Wednesday. So we're growing and we're getting louder and prouder.
All right. So just go for Time for Hemp. I had some communications with your French fellow today. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because I'm terrible at those French pronunciations.
Yes.
But I know they had Bernard Rapaz on there, and Bernard is an activist in Switzerland that I met when I was over in Switzerland back about 15 years ago.
Well, I overslept and missed the show this morning.
Well, you don't speak French anyway, so,
No,
so you wouldn't have done you any good.
No, but anyway, I do board off their show, so because I've been so busy with my move that I failed my duties. Yes.
You're gonna have to be more on the ball, or maybe bring in more advertising dollars, and then you can
hire more people,
get some extra help.
Thought I had somebody trained to take
Always
care of that,
easier said than done.
Yep.
So again, if you have a question out there tonight, you can give us a call at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. Right here, of course, we have our little display. There is this hemp twine, the wick in the hemp lamp here. It's hemp energy. It is a hemp wick, and it's hemp seed oil. That is the fuel, and that's the whole reason marijuana is illegal, to protect the petrochemical industry. And as soon as we pass our initiatives, number 21 and 22, once we get enough signatures to put them on the ballot, we'll let our farmers grow hemp, not according to how much THC it produces, but according to the varieties that produce the most quantity and the best quality hemp fuel, fiber, and food.
Now, don't we have a couple of states now growing industrial hemp in America?
No. There was a little test crop in Colorado.
Right.
The U.S. Farm Bill said that universities can start up some test projects.
All right.
But it's not being cultivated commercially in the United States yet.
Didn't Tennessee and Kentucky pass some kind of hemp bills?
No, not yet.
No.
Not yet. So they're still working on it.
Well, gosh.
Time will tell. We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hi. Could you explain the difference between, let's see, sativa and the other one? A friend of mine has a medical marijuana card, and he does not like feeling groggy. He is an intellectual type of person, and he is looking for the type that is
That'll wake
that
you
makes
up.
You productive.
Well, I like
when
that
it's
too.
done.
You know, and one of my favorite strains, it's won many awards, is my Lemon Pledge variety. It has a very strong lemon flavor, and it's more sativa. Generally, not always true, but generally, the sativas are less sleep-inducing. The sativas will wake you up, where the more indica strains might make you be sleepy, and so that's the major difference I see you're looking at. Of course, the sativa varieties have narrow leaves, and the indica varieties have fatter leaves. Most of the varieties out there are crosses between indicas and sativas. Now, cannabis indica and cannabis sativa are different varieties. They're not different species, but they're both different varieties of cannabis.
Well, thank you.
Hope that answered your question.
You folks are successful, and I very much appreciate what you're doing in
Thank
allowing people to grow their own.
Me too. You know, the law they passed up in Washington, I-502, does not allow people to grow their own. New Approach Washington's initiative did not allow Washington residents to grow their own. And it only allows them to possess an ounce. Once you go over 28 grams, you become, from at 28 to 40 grams, it's a misdemeanor. Once you have more than 40 grams, you're still a felon. So I think the law in Washington kind of sucks, but it got the most funding. It got about $7 million in funding in the last election cycle. Ours in Oregon, which would have allowed people to cultivate their own with, at that time, no limits on the amount that a person could grow or possess, we only got $500,000 worth of funding, and it all came from THCF medical clinics, or about 95% of it did. Now, I created what I call the inverse law of cannabis reform funding. The better a law is for the people and the patients and the environment, the less funding it will get from the big national funders out there. So and you can see that in the last election. The Washington law, which doesn't allow people to grow their own, got $8 million in funding. The Colorado initiative, which did allow people to grow 6 plants, it got $3 million in funding. Ours, which allowed people to grow cannabis without limit, didn't get any national funding, and our clinics ended up paying almost all of it. But there you have it.
Question: If you folks are successful in doing the good work that you're doing of allowing people to grow their own, what is the difference between something grown in the sun and something grown under lights? I would think that the plant that is grown in the sun is more potent. I'm going to hang up and listen to your answer if you don't mind. Thanks so much for all that you're doing. It's very much appreciated. I'm going to hang up. Thank you.
Well, you know, the biggest advantage from growing out in the sun is you get the full spectrum of light from the sun, and you don't spend money on electricity for lights and fans, and natural predators can come in and eat the bad insects that might infest your garden. So there are a lot of advantages to outdoor cultivation. I prefer outdoor cannabis. It tastes better. It's just the way it should be done. Now, if you're going to keep cuttings going, you have to have some indoor, but I prefer outdoor myself. What do you think, Casper?
Well, I've had some good hydroponic as well, and I know that when you have it outdoors, there's the fear of wind, rain destroying it. Drought can be a problem. People coming along and stealing your herb, it can also be.
That happens indoors too.
It can be a horrific problem, but you have a.
There are a lot more problems indoors. I mean, if your electricity goes out.
Indoors, you got to be Mother Nature. You've got to stay on top of it and keep the fans going and keep the plants dry.
If your hydroponic system quits pumping water, your plants die very, very quickly.
There's a lot to be said for
you know, we have a march coming up. It's going to be at the Pioneer Courthouse Square on Saturday, May 3rd. We have our permits lined up. So please come on down to the Global Cannabis March. We're in 300 different cities all around the United States. We also have a little bit of an announcement about our Hemp Stock Festival. We're in the process of getting our permit on the Hemp Stock Festival. We are hoping it will be on September 6th and 7th down near the Morrison Bridge, but the city is considering putting it on the 27th and 28th in the bowl where the Blues Festival is near the Hawthorne Bridge. But our permit is in process, so the Hemp Stock Festival is going forward. If you're interested in a booth or attending, check out our website at hempstock.org. That's
what are we doing?
HEMPSTALK.org.
What are we doing for our national holiday, our international holiday, 420?
Kids will be searching for eggs. They'll be following the Easter Bunny. It's on Easter.
I know. So
what are you doing?
I thought we'd go downtown, march, demonstrate.
We're going to march on May 3rd.
Raise hell and party. But okay. We usually do that on April 20th, don't we?
A lot of people do.
I'll put on my little bunny suit and do it.
You know, we are out of time here. We're going to go out with another great song with Mr. John Cornette. Did you want to put in a plug for something, Casper?
TimeForHemp.com is a growing broadcasting network, a great team of people who want to let the whole world know how important it is to end prohibition. We are the only pro-cannabis broadcasting network in iHeartRadio. We've had Judge James Gray on this week, and we also have a long list of people coming on every Sunday. Make it a point to go to TimeForHemp.com. Check us out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is the global broadcasting network.
I want to urge you out there to get involved in our petition campaign. Give us a call at 503-235-4606 and go to our portal at hemp.org. We're going to go out on another great song. What? Huh?
We had a death this week that we need to mention. Roland A. Doobie, also Ronnie Smith, passed away last night, leukemia. He's no longer with us. He was a member of our broadcasting team at Time for Hemp. He will be sorely missed, and we send our regards and love to his family.
All right. I want to thank you folks for watching. Tune in next week. Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/RestoreHemp. We're at 400,000 followers there. Here's Mr. John Cornette. Help us restore hemp.
Here's to you, Roland. Ganja. We want better ganja. Ganja. We want to grow better ganja. Stick it in the ground, water it down, better ganja. Woohoo! Ganja.